Hello there, Eagles fans. Welcome back to Philly Eagles Therapy. I'm Basil,
And I'm Baz.
and we are recording Thursday, November 13th, 2025, coming at you with a preview episode for the Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions in Philly, Dad. We kind of talked about this. I was pretty happy to notice that the Packers game was in Lambeau and the Detroit game was at home. I thought that was kind of a better, that was the better of the two options
I
for us in
agree.
those two games. Yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that's the way we kind of lucked out in that scheduling. I mean, of course, we always play Green Bay every year, so uh, got the win. So, but yeah, it's
Yep.
going to be good. Luckily for us, it's in Philly, and it's going to be a pretty cold day. So,
Yeah. Well, before we get into it, let's give a shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles fan club of Colorado Springs. I haven't gotten to mention them in a bit because we've just been so stressed out from all the games and everything and just kind of jumped into it. But Philadelphia Eagles fan club of Colorado Springs, that is the page name on Facebook. They meet at Rhinos Sports and Spirits on Barnes and on Barnes and Powers in Colorado Springs every single week for the Eagles games. Not sure if we'll be able to go this week. I don't probably not. I'm going to be coming back from Denver kind of later that day. So we'll see. But hope to see fans there still showing up and everything like that. I did want to give a shout out. I met an Eagles fan today at my work named Brian. Really cool guy. Came from Philly and kind of told him about the podcast and everything. Hopefully he's watching. Shout out to you, Brian. I hope to see you at a game soon. I told him I would text a picture of all the Eagles stuff and everything like that. So I got to take a picture to text him that.
nice, very
All
cool.
right, Dad, let's get into it. Before we get into the matchups, let's talk about the news kind of in the Eagles area. We have to mention it. We'll try to go by it pretty quick. Don't really want to deal with it for too long. A lot of people have heard this beaten to death, but we just got to mention it. The AJ Brown stuff, more AJ Brown stuff coming out during a live stream. He mentioned, said some stuff about, things have been pretty bad, and yeah, they dropped me in fantasy stuff like that, kind of joking around, but
Yeah,
you know, it's this for me, the situation. I'll get your thoughts on it in a second, but for me, the situation. I had my friends ask about him. I'm kind of like, well, I think it's a two-way. I think two sides are wrong on this. I don't believe. I don't agree with AJ going out and doing this stuff sort of publicly. I always like the stuff keeping in house, but we really don't know what's on in house. Maybe he has brought it up and nothing's been addressed. But we do know that this offense is not using him correctly. If they're not using him enough, three targets is horrible. Two of those being on the first drive, one of them being the last play for the offense of the game. It's just not. It's not okay.
yeah. So I mean, he didn't get a target in the second or third quarter, and the last play of the game in the fourth quarter. So, I did see a few things today where, at one point he was at practice and he did get to talk with Jeffrey Lurie. So Big Dom
Yeah.
apparently got them together or something,
Yep.
and I had heard that. I think I even saw a little clip on it. So.
Nice.
I mean, what are you going to do, right? I mean, he's correct. I think you got to get more than three targets to one of the best wide receivers in the league. It just doesn't make any sense to any of us. So
I
unless
mean,
he's totally not getting open at all, which I can't believe at all. So yeah, it's got to change.
yeah.
It's got to change.
If you don't agree he's top three, then he's top five. If you don't agree he's top five, well, then he's top 10. And that's the lowest it goes. I
Yeah,
mean, it really goes no lower than top six if you really
yeah,
wanted to get down to it.
yeah,
It's unacceptable.
yeah. Well,
AJ,
he shouldn't be 46th in targets in the league this year. I mean,
yeah,
that's just totally ridiculous.
ridiculous. And I did like what he had to say at his locker. He made it very clear. I'm not going to apologize for what I said. This is not okay. We can't just, we got to be better. The defense is adapted, and we have to adapt too. I agree with everything he said, and I think it's very different from last year. Last year when he said his remarks about the passing game needs to be better. That wasn't so much of a shot at anything. It was just kind of like, well, we got to be better. And
Right.
then BG kind of did his thing on the radio. It was kind of a bummer and kind of, it was tough. Last year was different. Last year was kind of like, whoa, AJ, like, we're winning and we're blasting teams. Like we were
Right.
killing teams.
Yeah.
He was kind of, he was still passing, he was struggling, but we were really beating a lot of teams by a lot. This year's very different.
Yeah.
They're not using him well at all. I mean,
No.
and we're not winning big. Like
No.
last year, the big thing was, oh, well, we can't throw it well, but hey, the run game is one of the greatest ever. But
Right.
it's not like that this year. This
No,
we're
it's not.
squeaking by in a lot of these games, and he
Yeah.
needs to get the ball more. He needs to be in the
Yeah.
game plan.
Yeah. And it's funny because last year started squawking kind of late in the season as well, and it changed things. That Pittsburgh game, right? They talked
Yeah,
about and then he came out of the box and just kicked butt. And then from then on,
right.
they went on a nice roll, and they kind of changed their offense. And now our offense coordinator is not there anymore. So I mean, it's the same thing every year. It seems like we're having struggles with the offensive coordinator, and this year is no different. And hopefully, with all the press and the bad talk of all the big people talking out there, hopefully this week is the week somebody takes a butt. I mean, you saw how Dan Campbell took over the play calling in the Lions, and they were not struggling at all. And look, he helped them light up the Commanders with 44 points. So
Yeah.
hopefully Patullo starts getting it together. And, if not, some pressure's got to come from somebody on him.
Yep. All right, Dad, let's get into it. We don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's talk about just some injuries going into the game. So, big ones to note: Cam Jurgens coming back, limited on Wednesday, limited today. We'll see more on him today. You really hope that this is the week he comes back. He's got a little 3 week break that happened there with the bye week being there. He didn't play for the Vikings game. Was the Vikings? Yeah, he didn't play at the Vikings game, the Giants game. Is that right? Am I messing that up?
Was it Giants Vikings?
It was, yeah, you're right. No, it was
Yeah.
Vikings Giants, but I thought he played in the Vikings game, but
Yeah.
I think
He
I'm
must have
wrong
got
there.
hurt
So
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think he played in the Vikings game. But no, Brett Toth might have been a guard. But yeah, so Brett Toth, yeah. So sorry, Cam Jurgens didn't play in the Giants game, and then had the bye week, and then didn't play in the Packers game. So 3 week rest for him. You really like to see him back this week. Lane Johnson obviously avoiding a major injury last week against the Packers. Full participant today, which is great news. And then
Yes.
the other big one to note: Jacorian Bennett, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. And I guess I should mention Nolan Smith, full participant. You like to see that. He played, it's good to see him as a full participant after his first game back,
Right.
because, it is a recurring injury for him. So you really
Yes.
want to see him back at practice full time.
Yes. And it's good to see that. I mean, there's some of the linemen were limited, but that could be rest, as we always talk about.
It's tough.
They said at one point the only real healthy player was Mulata, and the other four were listed as limited or rest or something like that. So, yeah, this is the week I think we really need Cam back. We always talk about it. We know the running game's got to get better, and hopefully this helps. The Giants
Yeah.
game, obviously, Toth played well,
Yeah.
and but we would really like to see Cam back and get that cohesiveness going here in the last 9 games.
Yeah. The toughest thing about recording on Thursdays, these podcasts, is that the final injury report comes out on Friday. So we're never really fully in the know of what's going on there. So we'll do what we can. Big news, big players' names on the Lions injury report: Terrion Arnold, their starting cornerback; Kirby Joseph, one of
Joseph,
the
yeah.
best safeties in the NFL; and then Sam Laporta, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. All of them did not participate on Wednesday or Thursday. They had
Right.
some other big names, but you kind of assume the same thing, that it's just rest for the other ones.
Right.
For limited, Panay Sewell, Graham Glasgow, stuff like that. But those three names not participating, those are huge names. And Terrion Arnold's out for a concussion, so you really think that he probably won't be playing in that game on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. And the big problem they had last year, the Lions, was their defensive backs, lots of injuries, killer injuries. And
Yeah,
this year they're, a little bit healthier. Then you start seeing this stuff start coming around again. So for their sake, maybe it's good, but for our sake, it might be good.
yeah. Through the injuries they've suffered on defense, we'll go ahead and mention their team stats and everything. They've got a top 10 defense for sure. I mean, their defense is seventh again in yards, 12th against the pass, fifth against the run. I apologize, eighth against the run, 12th best scoring defense, and seventh against third down percentage. So even with some of the injuries they've suffered this year, they've been a really still a pretty strong defense.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff coming out about how last week against Mariota, they kind of let Mariota throw the ball on him. He had a 133 quarterback rating. Obviously, that doesn't affect games as much as people think it does,
Right.
because they got kind of annihilated in that game.
Yes. They
But
had
no,
no shot. No shot.
but the Lions defense has been better than expected.
And that's the way sometimes how it works. I'm looking at last year on our defense. We had some games where we were blowing people away in the last quarter. They were putting up numbers. The one that really got me was that Ravens game where, we were holding them to no running yards. And then, Jackson had that big 50, 60 yarder at the end of the game, which was
Stupid.
meaningless, and we
Yeah,
had that a few times last year, but
very many.
so that's where your rankings and defense change, but even this year for us, we've had some games where kind of was over, but they're still putting numbers up because
Yeah,
you're putting in the second string or something like that. So
yeah. Before we get into full matchups, let's talk about the story of the game. So, Eagles take on the Lions in Lincoln Financial Field in Philly. Sunday night game, first Sunday night game of the season. Feels like I mean, I know, so I shouldn't say it's the first primetime game in a while because we just played primetime on Monday. But as far as like, we only played a few primetimes games, correct? We had the Thursday night to open the season, the Monday
Right,
night, and the Sunday night. That's the only ones, right?
right. That's right.
Yeah. So not many
Got a few
primetime
more.
games
Got a
so
few more
far.
coming up,
That
but
that's
yeah,
the thing. We do have a
yeah,
few more coming up in the next few weeks. But this is exciting. I wanted to talk about the Lions and the Eagles over the last few years. It's funny because we talked about it out there. It's almost like it's a rivalry that doesn't the teams haven't played. Like it's almost like
right,
there's a rivalry between these two teams, and they haven't even played in their greatness time. So we talked about in 2021, they played each other. The Eagles dominated them. I forgot to look up the full score. I think it was like 44-8 or something like that. Eagles killed them. And that was in
right,
2021. They were in a bad year. They were a rebuilding year. And then we were, kind of the same way. We snuck into the playoffs, but we were not a serious team. We were the seventh seed.
right,
2022, we played them again, first game of the season. And that was really the first time of the new look Eagles and the new look Lions.
right,
We ended up being, the best, number one seed going to the Super Bowl. It was the first year with AJ. His Hurts as his, MVP runner-up season. And the Lions kind of took a big step. They went 7-9 or 8-9, something like that. But they were better than that. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Lions, that's a good team next year coming up."
yeah,
And since then, since 2022, we've been the two best teams in the conference. I mean, you could throw the Niners in there maybe, but two best
right.
teams in the conference over that time. We've been the one seed once; they were the one seed twice. So we went to the Super Bowl twice and won one. I mean, it's funny how two teams can almost feel like, oh, they're supposed to play each other because it's like
Yeah,
everyone was really looking for that NFC Championship game last year. Didn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah. It
It
seemed like
almost feels like
we were on a collision course to play
yes,
them in the NFC Championship game, and actually it was going to be in their house.
yeah,
And then, of course, they lost to the Commanders in a big upset.
yeah,
Goff was terrible. The team looked bad. By then, though, the injuries had really caught up to their defensive and
yeah,
defensive backs, most likely, for the most part. But yeah, it's interesting to see. That game you're talking about when we played them in 2022 for the season opener,
yeah,
we jumped out to a pretty good lead, and then they came roaring back, and then you kind of went,
yeah,
oh, they have got it together there. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, like you say, that we haven't played them much in the last so many years.
Yeah. It feels like because 2022 just feels like because it was week one, it feels so distant.
Oh yeah,
It's weird to say we've only played them 3 years ago, but it feels like just very distant,
yeah,
very
for sure.
different teams since then, and it is really going to be exciting to see. Do you have a weather report for the game?
Yeah, I do, and it's going to be interesting because we just played in Green Bay where it was what in the 20s for the real feel. This game Sunday night, temperature is going to be around 40, but it's going to feel like 30, and there's gusts up to 30 miles an hour predicted in the game. So it could disrupt some of that passing game. So again, it's going to be and that's the gusts. I forget what it says for regular. Of course, that's still days away, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I got for you. That 30 mile an hour gusts. There's
Yep.
a big storm out there that's been moving around across the nation. So if that happens, you better be able to run the ball because you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to throw it. Philly's when it's wet like that, and it's just always wet around Philly. It's very high humidity there in Dew Point, so it's going to be rough. And then
Yeah.
30 degrees, your hands are going to start getting a little bit tight
Yeah.
and red and hard, and that ball's
Well,
going to come out. So
yeah.
hopefully we can move the ball running it. That's going to be a big thing for them as well.
Well, I think that leads into what we were saying before. This is kind of the good thing about playing this at home. Detroit is an indoor team, an indoor stadium. They don't play in
Fast
the
track.
cold. Yeah,
Yep.
fast track and everything like that. And I think it's cool that we number one we got practice last week in the cold against the Packers, and
Right.
now they come to our town in the cold and not really they're not coming off any practice from it. Who was their last game? The Commanders, and
Yes.
that was in Washington.
Yes, it
So
was.
yeah, weather might not have been, terrible. There was
No, it was in the
yeah,
50s probably.
64 degrees and yeah,
Yeah.
so that was different. So yeah, it is good that it kind of worked out this way for us
Right.
to be at home against them, to be on the road in Lambeau. Um,
Definitely.
All-time record, Dad, I want to mention all-time record Eagles lead 18-16, and I thought it was 18-16 to 2 with two ties, but I only
Wow.
typed one. So I think I'm gonna double check that real quick.
Right. That's
All-time
interesting.
record. We do have the all-time record in the playoffs. We've only played once. We went 1-0. That's it. We've tied twice. I'm sorry, 18, 16, and 2. And
Wow.
we beat them once in the playoffs in 1995, as you can probably remember.
Oh gosh, I do. Yeah, it was a huge game. I think we were up 31 to nothing at the half or something like that. Scott Mitchell was the quarterback who was really the darling of the media prior to that, that whole season, and he just was just destroyed in the playoffs. He threw three picks, and they ended up yanking him. I don't know if it was in the second or third quarter, but they pulled him out of the game. The Eagles had such a big lead, and they got one of those last second, right before the half touchdowns, which was
Yeah.
incredible. And then they came right out of the box in the second half and scored right away too. So they were up big in that game. I think the final was 58 to 30 something, 35,
30,
36,
37.
37. But
I
yeah,
pulled it up to double check you. Yeah.
but they scored like two or three touchdowns late in the game when it was all over. But yeah, we were ready to break the NFC Championship, I think, points record at the time. They only needed a couple more points, and they ended up not. They kind of took their foot off the gas. But I forget the name of the coach back then. But man, it was interesting, interesting.
Do you remember the last time we lost to them? I double checked it. It's 2019, and I don't remember the game at all. I'm
That's
wondering if you
funny.
can tell me.
No, I don't
20,
either. I know,
2019.
I know we played them in Thanksgiving probably, and that was awful.
I think that was 2015. That was terrible. We got
Yeah,
killed 45-14.
that was
29
awful.
2019, we lost 27-24. And for some reason, it's just
Hmm.
not coming to my head.
Right, right. That is
It,
funny.
it had to be Stafford, right?
Um,
It had to have been Stafford
yeah,
still.
yes, yes, yes.
I can't think of the game, but that's okay. I'll move past it. But it's just funny how that happens, because I clearly remember 22, 21, 2015, 2019. I have no idea when that happened. I don't remember that at all. All right, let's get into matchups, Dad. We talked a little bit about their defense. Most numbers falling in, all their numbers falling within the top 12. Let's talk a little bit more about that. For the offensive matchups going against their defense, number one thing we got to mention, Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best defensive ends in the NFL, 7 sacks on the season. That's good for yada, yada, yada. I'm stalling. I'm stalling.
I
How
would say
many sacks?
probably sixth,
It's
sixth
good
or
for tied for 10th, actually.
okay.
Tied for 10th. But yeah, 7 sacks on the season. Obviously suffered a really bad injury last year and has come back incredibly strong. He has been
That's good.
fantastic. And he's a
Yep.
great player and he's a fun player to watch. It's one of those players that kind of everybody roots for. Just you watch him play and you just want to see this guy have fun.
Well,
But you don't
he'll
want to
be
see him
going up
have fun
against
this Sunday.
no, he'll be going up against Lane because he's usually on the right side or
Yeah,
his left
right.
side, if you will. But
Yep. Lines up on the
so
right side
yeah,
of the offense. Yeah.
you know what I always say when they have a great defensive end like that, run right at him early and knock him down.
Yep. Yeah. No, and this team has done a great job in the past of limiting great players. And that's kind of Stoutland has always had that ability. Aaron Donald, the big thing, Aaron Donald never had any sacks against the Eagles. We always kind of
Yes,
celebrated that. And
yes,
Micah Parsons, obviously playing him twice a year before, he was going to get numbers no matter what, but never really was the game wrecker that he was normally against us. He was never a game wrecker. And then last week kind of limited him. So I
very,
think that's
very
something that
limited.
that's something that the Eagles offensive line has always really been able to do, even
Right.
when they've struggled in some places. They have done a really great job at eliminating the major threats that defenses
Right.
have, or
Well,
defensive lines have, I should say.
that's where you start to chip him early and you get him off his game somehow. That's what you got to do, and maybe run a few pitch sweeps that way. Maybe have Tank run over him a couple times, and we'll see if we can limit him. But yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely a great player, and we're glad to see him back because that was a bad injury, and I was surprised how quick he came back this year.
yeah,
I mean, he got
absolutely.
hurt pretty early in the year last year, I believe, but yeah, it's nice to see him back.
Yeah, he got hurt in the Cowboys Lions Cowboys game, which I don't remember when it was. I think it was week 5 because we were on a bye. It
Okay.
was early. It was very
Yeah,
early.
I remember that, and that kind of just derailed them. But they continued to play well. I mean, they didn't knock them off the tracks like you thought it would.
Next thing to note on their defense, one of the really the highlight of their defense and a lot really the NFL best safety duo in the league. They got Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Sorry, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. One of the best safeties in the tandems in the league. One was All Pro. One was a Pro Bowler last year. The big name I mentioned though, Kirby Joseph. He's might not be playing. He was He did not participate on Wednesday and Thursday. He's got a knee injury here. So that'd be huge. That'd be a big deal if
Yeah,
they're missing one of those two safeties out there.
for sure. I mean, especially if you can run the ball and get into that second line of defense, and maybe
Yes.
the guy filling in for him is not ready, not a sure tackler or something like that. So, I mean, that's where you got to start with that, and hopefully some of the passing game is better because that's what we
Yeah.
need to do.
The next guy I like to mention on their defense is going to be their Goldilocks, Alex Anzalone. The blonde-haired linebacker.
Good.
One of those guys who just flies around the field. He's like
Yes.
the Alex, kind of like an Alex Singleton. Where it was just when we had Alex Singleton, you're just like, does he make every tackle?
Right.
Like, is there ever a
Yeah.
play? Like, it's like, I don't want to say Urlacher because that's one of the best linebackers ever, but
Right.
when you watch Urlacher play, it was just like, does that say he had 25 tackles in this game? Like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, he just makes, he's a part of every play. And that's
Yeah.
Anzalone. He's a fast guy. He's a downhill runner. And he can really get anywhere on the field and get some tackle, bring you down wherever he wants
Good
to.
good at the pressure in the quarterback as well because he'll throw those blitzes in at you. So yeah, he's
Yep.
definitely really good.
Yep. For the defensive matchups, this is the hardest one to choose. I wrote down everyone. I mean, they got a good quarterback. You could probably argue he's in the top 10, top 12, whatever you want to
Oh, for
say.
sure. For
You could
sure.
really place him anywhere in there. When they give him time, which he often gets because that offensive line's great, he can be dangerous. And the reason why is because he's got a guy named Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got a guy named Jabir Gibbs, a guy named Sam Laporta, and another guy named Jameson Williams. And
Yes.
I didn't even mention David Montgomery in that, which,
Yeah.
we talked about the best safety duo. They probably have the best running back duo.
They
I mean, this
definitely
is
do. Yeah.
this is an offense. They might have one of the best wide receiver duos. I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is an offense. We mentioned Laporta is injured right now. We might not see him, but this is an offense that's just, also mention this. If the Eagles don't have the best tackle tandem in the league, it's probably the Lions.
Right. Yeah.
They are just
Sewell.
built. They
Yeah.
have built through the offense with Decker and Sewell and the offensive
Right.
line, and they are just dangerous. Give me your thoughts on all of them. I'm
And
sorry.
and they bring the head coach's mentality too with him. Dan Campbell, he's just that
Mhm.
kind of player. He's that kind of coach where he wants that. That's how he builds his teams, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to be able to run the ball at you with two different guys, two different types of runners, and just beat you up and win the game. And that's definitely the kind of thing that we are used to from our team doing, and hopefully we can continue that. Those linemen are going to see some guys this weekend too, though. That have been playing on their game with Carter and Davis and Ojimo, and now the new defensive end we got Phillips, and then of course BG, who even looked fairly good last week, and he's just going to have another week of game practice. And bringing that same mentality and then bringing that same veteran leadership that we need. How about that play Ojimo called out last week? It was just
That was
incredible to
wonderful.
see a player of that stature and size be able to have that same knowing and call the play out. That's just what a heads up for them. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
I remember the big thing about Ojimo early on when we drafted him the seventh round out of Texas. The big thing about him early on was he was a smart guy. Everyone knew that because he was young. And I believe he went to college early because
Okay,
I think he was like a young, I don't know for sure, but I remember that the big thing about him was being a really smart guy. And that showed up on that game. I mean, that
man.
it showed up on the tape and it showed up viral across the internet, which was awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do that more often. Maybe call the wrong play out so they shift the play and do something wrong. Because they were saying that some of the Packer players, especially Jacobs, he was saying when he called that play out, I was going to change where I was going to go to because
Too late.
they knew where we were going and they had the defensive push on that side of the field as well. And Phillips just blew that play up, and then
Right.
Blankenship, who had a great game
Carter.
this past week, came busting in and made some great plays and had a
Yeah.
great tackle on that play.
Yeah. It's funny because the Lions offense, top 10 really across the board and everything. Total yards 6, passing yards 10, rushing yards 6, and then points second. And the
Wow,
one thing that's off of that, the third down percentage, the 21st. Only convert on third down 37.5% of the time. Now,
interesting.
I'm going to go ahead and assume it's probably because they don't see many third downs. That's kind of my thought process there. They probably don't see many third downs, but they're not so good on third down when they see them. So that's going to be a big point of emphasis because we are one of the worst third down defenses in the NFL. We fall down to 27th and
Yeah,
sorry, 26th. and allow it 42% of the time, which is really
Right.
bad.
Well, again, a lot of that's changed in the last couple of weeks, I think. So I think that's going to definitely bring that
Yeah,
number down somewhat.
and this is one of those things that you talk about, the things that happen at the end of the games. And I'm not saying that's happened to our team this year, but it is funny because I'm told, we were talking smack in the group chat during the Eagles Packers game and with some of my friends, and I kind of said, well, it's two of the best defenses. They're like, Eagles are like middle of the pack defense, and I'm like, that's not right though. Like I just
Yeah.
don't feel that way. Like
Right.
I know there's the bias of an Eagles fan, but I'm watching them and I'm just like they're better than that. Like I know the
Right.
numbers say that, but I don't care. It's wrong.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and obviously we're halfway through the season, so we don't know what they will be by the end of the season.
Right. I
But
mean,
it just
that's the one good thing about Sunday Night Football now. When they introduce the lines, you're going to see the PFF score. And we watched it last
yeah,
week and we're like, oh, that
can't wait.
guy's third. And wait, I forget one of the quarterbacks. He was like 15th, and we're like, there's no way he's 15th.
Yeah,
He's top four.
yeah, I
So
know.
it's
It's funny.
interesting to see that. Obviously you and I look at that and we
Yeah,
argue with it and what are you talking about? So we'll see like what's Jalen Carter rated at? What is
yeah, I
uh, you
wonder.
know, Davis rated at, and then we're going to see the numbers on some of the offensive linemen, and we're going to go, that's way too low, or that's way too high, or you'll see where Hurts sits and where's Barkley at in that because
I'm
you
excited
know
to see
those
Tyler
numbers are
Steen.
great, but it doesn't
Yeah,
determine how the game's going to go.
yeah. I'm excited to see Tyler Steen's number just because it seems like there's a lot of contradiction with people's thoughts on him. A lot of people
Right.
think he's playing perfectly fine. Some people are like, oh, he's not very good. I am interested to see what his number is in the PFF
Right.
rankings.
I agree with you there because I
Yeah,
disagree with some of the rankings every time I
yeah,
see that. And it's kind of something that I glue myself to the set early on in the game to see where they are. And you'll be like,
yeah.
"Oh, he's 77th out of 82." And you're like, and then he makes
What?
8 tackles and has a pick and you're like, "Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
they don't know what they're talking about."
It doesn't always. Yeah, it doesn't always work. But
No, it doesn't
all
at
right,
all.
Dad. Give me your player to watch for this game.
Well, I think the player to watch in this game, which is probably the guy that's going to make a big impact in this game, is Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not really good at picking players, so hopefully I'm right this week. But I think he's the guy that's going to make a big determination in a lot of plays. Had a great game last week, and it seems like some of the other DBs are feeding off what he's doing and kind of shutting down some of the pass plays that we saw. Looked like Adoree Jackson played well, but I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Quinyon, see if he follows St. Brown around or if he's you know moving on one side of the field or whatever. But a lot of our guys last week, they did not give up many yards or many catches. So hopefully
Yeah,
he can do whoever he's on shuts down, and then we can get to the quarterback, which is what we need to do.
yeah. I wish I had saved it because I saw someone post it earlier, but I believe it had something to say with Quinyon Mitchell. He's allowing the second lowest completion percentage in the NFL, despite being one of the most targeted cornerbacks in the NFL,
Right.
which is just unbelievable. He's having an incredible season. I
Yeah.
chose his buddy, I chose his coworker, and his comrade along the side. I chose Cooper DeJean. I kind of agree with you. This is more of a defensive game in the sense,
Yeah.
we got to find a way to slow these guys down until the offense shows us that they can consistently do what they did against Washington. I'm sorry, Minnesota and against New York.
Right.
You just have to hope that the defense can kind of shut down the other team's offenses for now.
Well, Cooper, he's that one-on-one tackle guy, makes great tackles
So good.
one-on-one. So does Bond. But I mean,
Oh
they're
yeah,
going to need Cooper to come up maybe on a couple of these safety blitz type things. And when Jahmyr Gibbs maybe gets through the line of scrimmage, knock him down after 2 or 3 yards and show him who's boss, give him some good hits and maybe knock him off his game, knock one out, maybe get a fumble. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet feeling and the wind's going to be blowing. So, they're going to have to definitely make some noise today or on that week with the quarterback.
yeah. Dad, you got a score prediction for me?
I think it's going to be I think everyone's been calling for high scores. I don't believe it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be like a 21-17, uh,
Dude,
20,
did you
24-20.
did you see me type mine down?
No, I did
You
not, but
suck.
I don't think they're all calling for like a high game shootout. Of course, none of them look at the weather like we do because I'm the weather daddy and I know what's going down there. So I keep my eyes posted on that weather thing. And 30-mile-an-hour gusts is going to change the game. It's going to make field goals kind of rough, and it's going to make deep passes tough. So
Yeah,
hopefully, we can run the ball on these guys and keep their ball knocked it down on the ground.
yeah. Yeah, the tough thing for me with this, like I said, I just don't know how to trust the offense in a high scoring game. And the other tough thing is I mentioned on the podcast before, obviously in the first episode of the season, we predicted, I did our our record predictions, and I predicted us to go 13-4. And it's tough because I want to pick a 17-0, but you just can't.
Right.
And one of the losses I chose was this week. Now, same way with the Rams game, when I chose us to lose that game, I said I won't do it on the podcast. I'm not going to choose against us, but that was
Right.
my preseason prediction. I'm choosing us to win. I took 21-17. So you must have cheated by looking at my paper. So, but no, I think we win this game, and I just think our team is. I don't know. For some reason I think we're better. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's really no. It's delusion at this point, in a sense, but it's also not delusion because we've lost 3 games in a calendar year. I mean,
Right.
probably less than that now. I don't even know. I mean, that's absurd, and it just doesn't happen. And this
Right.
team just doesn't lose very often. In the last 4 seasons, even when the collapse happened, we were 10-1 at one point. It
And I
just.
still I still think that how he made the right move with the
Oh
getting the
yeah,
defensive end we've got. And I think the defense really is just starting to come together. I really
I think
do.
so too.
Luckily for us, nobody's really been nicked up on that defensive line. Same with the linebackers, and we've got extra players. We've got 3 linebackers now. We never had three
Oh,
linebackers,
it's
and
absurd,
Dean's playing out of his mind, and Vaughn is
unreal.
playing just as good. And Jihad Campbell gets there and makes some plays as well. So, I mean, and that's going to be a big part of it is if Dean can come up and maybe get some of those -3, -4 yard runs, kind of like BG did last week. He didn't make the tackle, but he hit the guy 3, 4
Right,
yards deep, and they smothered him after a 1 yard gain, 1 yard loss, and that's what we need to see.
fantastic. Dad, do you have anything else to say about the game before we jump into some other games?
Not really. I just think I'm just concerned about the weather now. That the fact that I saw that it's going to be that big wind like that
Yeah.
changes everything, man.
All right, just to give a reminder to all you watching, please like and subscribe and comment down below. If you're listening, please give us a subscribe and a rating, please, wherever you're listening, and drop a comment of your prediction down below. Dad, let's try to fly through these. Got a couple minutes going on here, but
Sure.
let's talk about some games. I only try to choose 5. Last week I could only choose like 3. This week I picked 8. So it's funny how different it is. It's a much better week. Start off with the early game. We're only mentioning this because it's a division, but the Dolphins and the Commanders are playing over in Madrid for the first ever NFL game in Spain. What's your thoughts there?
Interesting. So I will be able to watch that game, and I'll probably get up for that game. So that's kind of cool. I think the Dolphins, after what they did last week against the Bills, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. They ended up blowing them out, and Washington's kind of mailing it in right now. So if they can
Yeah.
continue to play like they did last week, the Commanders won't have a shot.
Next one I got is going to be Buccaneers versus the Bills. Kind of the best early game. Tampa Bay going into Buffalo, 2 of the top teams of their conferences. Bills kind of in a falter right now, and the Bucks too. I mean, they
Yeah.
lost to the Patriots. Patriots are a good team as we see,
Yes,
but
they
still,
are.
big game for
They
both
are.
these teams.
As we'd love to see the Bucks lose another one. And I
Correct.
think the Bills are, they got to get it going because they looked really flat last week, and that's not a good thing. They are home. I haven't checked the weather there, but I bet you it's going to be cold because it always is up there. I know they had some snow in the area last week, so this past few days, and I know there's a storm brewing up in that area, so it might be one of the first big snow games we get of the year. But yeah, they need to get it together. Otherwise, I said at the beginning of the season, I didn't think they can continue to get to the end of the season and lose out every year like they do. And I think this looked like their year. And now suddenly, after that egg they laid last week, I don't know what to say, but I'd like to
Yeah.
see him win. And of course, the Bucks can't be feeling too good about losing last week.
Yeah. Next one for you going to be Bears versus the Vikings in Minnesota.
Vikings. Well, that's going to be. I think it's going to be one of the better games because who knows who's going to do what.
I think they're
Vikings
very
have been
even
kind of up
keeled
and down.
teams.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 6-3 Bears, 4-5 Vikings, and the Vikings beat the Bears last time in Chicago. So I think this could be a good game.
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to pull it out. Their quarterback's been playing much better.
Yeah. Quick one here, Packers Giants. We're only mentioning it really because it's a big team versus division team. I don't really expect much of a game, but who knows? I mean, the Packers
Yeah,
can lose. The Packers are one of those weird teams right now. They could beat anybody. I wouldn't be surprised. They could lose to anybody. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, the Giants changed quarterback, so they're going with the big guy. So, and
Yeah,
that could make a big difference, that he can throw the ball. And I mean, it's been a while, and he's got to play. He's playing for basically his future. So that could be a game, and the Packers might be coming off a big letdown after last week's offensive egg they laid as well. Their
there's
defense is
one
good, but
there's one way to make me cheer for the Giants, and it's to have
yes,
Jameis Winston as your quarterback.
I agree.
Next one, Niners Cardinals. Niners probably the much better team here, but they did only beat the Cardinals by one last time, and that was in San Fran. So this game's in Arizona. What you think there?
Well, I think the fans are going to boo him if they don't play well in Arizona
Good.
because Brissett looked good, and then last week he looked awful. But the Niners got Brock Purdy started, so we'll see if how that matchup comes and see. There's going to be a lot of eyes on that for Brock Purdy for sure.
Yeah. Three more games to mention. The other big NFC matchup: Seahawks taking on the Rams. Kind of funny. It feels like the four best teams of the conference are playing each other this week, with us taking on the Lions and the
Yeah,
Seahawks visiting the Rams in the divisional matchup. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. Got to make sure I see
yeah,
that whole thing.
yeah. The only thing I'm looking for in that game, it better be a good game, no blowout, because the Seahawks have looked great, and so have the Rams. But I think after this week, we'll know who the better team and who may have the inside track to the NFC Championship game in this game.
Yep. Two more: Chiefs taking on the Broncos in Denver, which is going to stink because I'm going to have to drive back before that game so I can miss the traffic.
Right.
Um, Dad, in my weekly pick'ems, this was a surprise. I picked the Broncos. I didn't mean I kind of was like, I think I'm gonna take the Broncos. I took the
Yeah.
Broncos to beat the Chiefs. I think that's crazy. But I did. I took them.
Yeah, they could have some precipitation in that game as well. So we'll see. Denver's looking at maybe getting some rain. It's going to be not as cold as it's been. It's probably in the 50s there. But the Chiefs, they lose this game. They definitely do not have the inside track to get to the AFC, at least home for the playoffs.
Yeah, they definitely. I would say if they lose this game, they're not winning the division because the Broncos have too
Yes.
much of a lead, and you still have to worry
Yes.
about the Chargers being above
Yes.
them as well. And then the last game, the Monday night game, Cowboys going to Vegas to take on the Raiders.
This could be a stink bowl. I mean, because the Raiders really don't have much on offense and the Cowboys have zero on defense. Cowboys can move the ball, but how much motivation they're going to have after just the way it's been. They are off their bye week, so if they lay an egg in this game, it's over.
Yep. All right, Dad. Anything else you got to say about football?
I love football.
Um, I'll do a quick rundown of some other sports. Not much to go off of. The Sixers, though, they just beat they just beat the Celtics, which was nice to see.
Again.
Yeah, they did. Yep, they're 2-1 now against the Celtics this year.
Wow.
They're fourth in the Eastern Conference, which is great. And Tyrese Maxey right now is third in the NBA in points per game. He's been
Nice.
fantastic. He's the best player ever. I love him so much. Um, the
How's that
Union,
rookie? How's the rookie doing?
he's been
Ed
good. He only
Edgecombe.
scored 6 points the other day, so that was a little bit of a struggle, but he's been really good. The nice thing is Jared McCain came back for a little bit of practice. He was our rookie last year, who was really in the forefront of rookie of the year. Didn't Ended up getting injured, but no, he's going to be playing for the Delaware Bluecoats in the G League to kind of warm up and get back to game
Yeah.
action before he
So
fully comes
did they
back.
beat
But
him with Embiid? Was Embiid on the court?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because I was watching that game and I really can't remember. One moment, I got to pull it up right here.
Because he was injured.
No, Embiid was not on the board, and Drummond not on the field, not on the court.
Court.
And Drummond has been a really good center for us this year in the backup spots. Been really nice to see.
Excellent.
And then wanted to mention the Union. Union still in the playoffs, not playing another playoff game till November 23rd, which is just soccer's kind of weird, but
What are you doing? Yeah.
yeah, strange. All right, let's say our goodbyes.
Okay.
You could follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok if you like Philly Eagles Therapy. Do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and comment down below. Let us know your predictions for the game, your score prediction, your MVP, all that sort of stuff. And you can email us your questions at phillyeaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Philly Eagles Therapy, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles fly.